Hello and welcome to Elizabeth's Craft Room. Now the other day I showed you how to make this little box with the popcorn die from Stampin Up and the matching stamp set. So if you haven't seen that video, I would suggest you pop over to my blog Elizabeth's Craft Room or look on my YouTube channel and pick this one out, which is the standard popcorn box die video, and then I will show you today how to make this little mini version, so a little shorter version, and how to make this little closure for the top of it, so it actually makes a lidded version of the box. So let's get started. So I've gone ahead and cut two pieces to make this with. Now I mentioned the other day when we made it that you can stamp on the cardstock and the papers. Now this one was made with paper, as was the one that we used the other day, but today I'm going to use some cardstock, and we're going to use the stamps from Ready to Pop. We're going to use this little one here to do some decoration on here. So let's get started with that. Let's bring in another piece of grid paper, as I'll probably end up going over the edge somewhat on this. So I'm going to just start off by stamping right down the middle. Now you'll see when you look at this that there are angles on this box, like a regular popcorn box. There are little angles there, so you want to just kind of get it lined up with the edge of the piece that you're doing. It's not terribly critical, but it just makes a little bit of a difference. And now I'm going to do a stamped off one each side. So stamp off, and that means I get a darker one and then just a slightly paler one each side. And if you line up the middle one, not terribly critical, but if you line up the middle one sort of in line with the edge of the piece that you're using, it means when you do your others you can just put them either side. You're not trying to eye the edge. Okay, pretty. And these little rough bits at the bottom, they're going to be underneath the box, so we're not going to see those too much. And while I've got my ink, I'm going to go ahead and do some more stamping. I'm stamping this little wreath image here. This is all out of the same Ready to Pop stamp set, and a little From Me to You inside there. Isn't that cute? And we will pop that out with the 1 3/8 punch. Layer that up on a 1 1/2 layer with a little Tombow, if I can see where it's gone to. There we go. And that's our stamping done, so I'll just put the ink aside. Now at this point you'll need to do some measuring, but don't worry, it's nice and easy. And what I would suggest, if you want to make more than one of these little boxes, I would suggest you do what I've done and make yourself a little template. Now all you're going to do is you're going to measure down 1 1/8 of an inch, 1 1/8 of an inch, and I would do it at the edges and in the middle. And once you make a little mark at 1 1/8, you're going to score. Now, what I did is I cut myself a little strip using the die of the top of the box, so that lines up beautifully. I'll flip it over, remembering to turn over the piece that I've done so that that lines up. And then I'm going to take a scoring tool, and using the smaller end of my scoring tool, I'm going to give that a score and give it a little bit of pressure if you're going onto cardstock, a little bit lighter if you're going onto paper, and same on this one. Now as I say, you could measure your 1 1/8 of an inch and do this, mark it with a pencil and then do it with a ruler, but so much easier to do it with a little cheaty piece. Okay, cheaty piece number 2. We also need to cut little diagonals so that the top of the box sits nicely. And I just eyeballed it when I did the very first one, so I thought I'd better measure and give you some measurements. So what you're going to do again, cut yourself a little template if you're going to make more than one. You're going to measure in from the edge here, measure in 1/4 of an inch, from the middle score line 1/4 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch, and from this score line here, so there's actually a little score for a flap going down there, so again 1/4 of an inch. Measure those in and then cut a V down to the score line. So if I put that against a navy piece of card, you can stop your video for a moment and see what it is that I've done there. Okay, so having made myself one of these, again I'm going to put it on the inside, and taking a pencil I'm just going to make a little mark of where that's going, and just line that up at the top. Same again, make a little mark, make a little mark. And basically what that's going to do is make life much easier for me. So I can then just snip those pieces out. You'll see this kind of wiggly bit down at the bottom. It's because it hits the, it's straight until it hits the score line. And then you've got this little folding piece here. Let me fold that in so you can see what I'm talking about. So it's straight until it hits the score line there, and then you can just kind of take a little bit off there to make that neat. And I haven't quite done that right. Okay, that looks a bit better. Okay, so as I said, I eyeballed it the first time. I just kind of thought, yeah, that looks about right. So you might feel confident to do that, in which case go for it. Okay, so now I'm folding along all my score lines. Now I have used the thick Whisper White cardstock here, which is quite thick. So just using my bone folder to reinforce that little that piece, and I'm going to say that on my little template I need to level that up because I've made the same mistake there twice. That's not quite right. I didn't measure in properly, but you will, and then that looks okay. Right, so I've just reinforced those score lines a little bit with my bone folder. Got a little one there. And same on the bottom here. And then we're going to put this together. And I'm going to put glue just on these flaps. You can use tear and tape if that's your preference, but I do like the glue because it gives a little wiggle room when you first put it down, so you can make sure that's nicely lined up. You don't need very much, and if you don't use too much it sticks very quickly. I'm not saying instantly because you need that wiggle room, but as soon as you've pinched that for a moment, that's going to be stuck. And then we'll just pop that back out. There's our little box. So to do the bottom, you put the side pieces in, then you put the non-scored bits in. The little score is there and there, and then you're going to put a little bit of glue underneath each of those. Oops, just lift that up. Pop those down, turn it over, and then give it a good press down with your bone folder to make sure those bottom pieces have stuck. Okay, so this is your little lidded box. How cute is that? Now you could do all sorts of closures. You could just tie a ribbon around there. You could punch holes and just tie a little ribbon on the top. It's quite a nice little shape to use. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a little closure using the heart punch. Now for this, I'm going to take a sweetheart punch shape in the Night of Navy and another one in white. Now the thing to do with this is to put them together here and cut down the middle. Now I'm going to say that's just over 1/4 of an inch. I don't know how well you can see that on the blue, so just over 1/4 of an inch, and then what will happen is they can lock together like that. Okay, so they will actually lock together. And so all you're going to do is what you want to adhere the outside pieces of these to the box. Now what I used was some dimensionals. So I'm going to, with them closed, now you don't want to close them all the way up as far as they'll go, because you need a bit of room for manoeuvre when you're moving you're opening and closing the box lid. So just take them out a little bit further, so that makes that sort of a swirly shape, which is pretty in itself, isn't it? Isn't that pretty? And then give those a press down, open up and give them a really good press, because you want those dimensionals to hold. And then when you want to close it, you just put one heart topper underneath and one over the top. How pretty is that? All my own design, I would like to say. I see lots and lots of ideas on Pinterest and from other demonstrators, and I love to copy and share everything. And I'm always happy when people copy and share my projects. But this one, this piece, this closure here, out of my head. Very proud of that. Okay, so I'm going to do the little from me to you. It's going to go on here, and again I'll pop that up with some dimensionals. And I'm just going to pop that to one side there. And then just to add a little bit of a finishing touch on this one, I'm going to use some pearls. So I thought they would work nicely. Isn't that almost like a yin-yang symbol? I think it is. I think it is. So a little bit of bling just there on the top. So original one I used enamel dots because we had them nicely coordinating with the project. This is the Foxy Friends paper, the one that coordinates with the Foxy Friend kit, if you like this one. But just a sweet little box, and so easy to make with the popcorn die. So thank you for visiting Elizabeth's Craft Room today. I look forward to welcoming you back again soon.